Hello, welcome back to Swans Cast, everyone. We're back with a match preview. It's been quite a while since we've done one of these with the World Cup going on and everything. And we're a bit early recording. We're on the 20th of December now. This game is not for another 10 days, I believe, 30th of December.
Mm-hmm.
But I am joined by the Do Not Scratch Your Eyes Watford FC podcast. And I've got Carl and Pete here. So welcome on, guys. Thanks for coming.
Pleasure. Thanks for inviting us.
I know, Pete, you've been here before. We discussed the reverse fixture, which I know you perhaps don't want to go into too much detail about. It was a good win for the Swans, wasn't it?
Yeah. Selected memory. No. It was. We're big fans of Grimes. Manning had a great game, but Grimes really, especially, just controlled the middle of the park. And it was genuinely a consummate away performance, and you got it. The only upset that we had was the fact that it was scored in about the 16th minute of injury time because the referee's technical equipment went up, and after about 10 minutes, the Watford fans and the away Swansea fans as well. What was it? You've got a flag and a whistle.
You got a flag and a whistle, yeah.
And he almost kind of went, "Oh yeah, I have. I better carry on with the game."
Don't you just love it when both sets of fans join in unison with a chant against the referee? That's just when you get peak football.
Football fans have this ability to make situations better. It could be the worst situations just with the songs they come up with.
Yeah, exactly. I only wanted to mention that game because of your plaudits for Matt Grimes, really. I was mentioning on your podcast how sometimes he's a little bit underappreciated in the Swans fan base, and it happens quite often, actually, but it's always really good to hear an opposition fan saying how good that he was in the game. And it happens quite often, but it's always, just wanted to bring that up for that reason, mainly.
One of the things in terms of talking about the game in 10 days' time is, as of today, we literally have two midfielders fit. So talking about coveting Matt Grimes, somebody who plays game in, game out, gives you a 7 or an 8 out of 10 every week. We bite your hand off for that because we bought in a guy called Bakuna who hasn't played a competitive game since June, which was for Curacao. Go look that one up. And of course, he's a former player of your local rivals, Cardiff, and they binned him off. So we have him in midfield at the moment. So we're hoping some of those kind of the Crocs and the injured get back, because he played for 60 minutes against Huddersfield.
I don't even know what position he's meant to play, because when he was at Cardiff in the derby matches, he used to play everywhere, like different place every time.
He plays central midfield, but he can also play right back, which is another thing which probably makes him quite popular for us. Because
I'm sure he played winger for them as well.
Oh, probably. It's just if you're at right back, it's like your life expectancy drops to about 7 minutes at Watford, because they just get injured within seconds. It's uncanny.
Well, this it's always good to get one over former rival players. So if he does start, it'd be nice if Matt Grimes can win that battle. But yeah, going into this match, obviously we've both got a game beforehand, so we're not going to know what's going to happen immediately before. But you guys coming off the back of a 2-0 win against Huddersfield, we just managed to claw back a draw against Coventry after going 3-0 down. Not being the best return from the World Cup. You guys are definitely in better form than us at the moment. We can't seem to buy a win. So tell me maybe about how you are playing at the moment. How do you feel about Bilic now? I think when we played last time, he didn't really just started, so it seems to have picked up a bit.
I love the fact that you also forget who the Watford manager is, a little bit like us. We have to go for it back.
I did have to check. I was like, he hasn't been sacked yet now,
he hasn't been sacked yet. No, under Bilic, he's making us difficult to beat. I think is probably a fair point in terms of not conceding, to trying to make us stronger from the back. Goals, we're not canning teams left, right, and centre. Luton maybe be the exception to that, which is excellent. But in general, I think everyone's behind the manager. It's just obviously at the back of everyone's minds. You never know what's going to happen as at Watford. We could wake up tomorrow morning and we've got somebody else in charge. But overall, the football's good. We're not giving too much away. But again, it just tends to be teams will come in a bit like Swansea did at Vicarage Road and just set out a game plan, and we sometimes struggle to break that down when teams come with a certain style and a certain way to win.
Very much so.
The one thing that
Bilic, well, the one thing that Bilic has done is make us hard to break down.
Yeah.
So we've had 6 clean sheets in the last 8 games. So
That's
and
good.
we've now had 4 on the spin. So from a, you know, and he hasn't had a huge array of players to pick from because we've had injuries in other departments as well. But at the moment it's just focused on kind of deep line midfield players. But he's managed to kind of put a kind of a grit and a bit of a determination, even when we're not playing well. So our first game back after the break was Hull City. We thought, yeah, we should have enough to take them. And because literally we'd got 4 of our 6 midfielders injured, 10 minutes into the game, the 5th got injured, and we had to drop João Pedro into midfield for that game. This is why we went and got Bacuna, who was an out-of-contract player, to come and fill in against Huddersfield. When we did that, it was 2-0 against Huddersfield, but genuinely it could have been 4 or 5 on very, very clear-cut chances and a penalty not given that was wholly inexplicable.
Stonewall, wasn't it? Stonewall.
Yeah. You know, and an absolute clear-cut chances. One was missed, one was a point-blank save, and one was a penalty that should have, you know, we should have been given, and it would have been out of sight at that point. But that's because the interesting thing will be how João Pedro, who has been our outstanding player this season, how he plays in the hole, which is again up against Grimes a little bit, because Grimes controlled that area. He doesn't tend to, well, in my it'd be good to see what you think. He doesn't tend to just pick up a player. He kind of tends to patrol the area and control the area when he's in that particular part. And he doesn't. Yao had a difficult game that night, so it's kind of it'll be interesting to see how that works, because João Pedro is. You know, we were talking earlier, and you were mentioning players like Dan James. You know, he is of that ilk and beyond. I would suggest potentially moving forward. If you can get hold of him, it tends to stop us flowing, because Hull City did it because he had to play deeper.
Yeah, you're right about Grimes. He will sit a bit deeper in midfield. He will just make himself available in whatever space is there. He'll try peel off anyone that's trying to mark him and just like get into any gaps, make himself available. That's why they spread the ball around the back and sideways and backwards and all the rest of it, because to try and wait until he's in that space to turn and then play the forward pass. That's the game plan. I know Carl mentioned about breaking us down, breaking us down. The way we play is probably easier to break us down than other teams. I think it's usually the other way around, where we struggle to break other teams down, because the game plan to beat us is to sit back and kind of defend. Low block sort of football where we can't then penetrate. You know, we'll let us keep the ball, let us pass it round, and then when we make a mistake, which we always do, we'll give you the ball, you'll get a transition phase, and we'll be out of shape, and that's where we concede most of our goals. So I wouldn't be too concerned if I was you about breaking us down, and I'm a little bit concerned about your 4 clean sheets in a row for the reasons just mentioned. If you go 1-0 up and then you decide to keep that could be all is needed, really, if you've got a good defensive shape.
I think that we are also vulnerable to the counter-attack against Hull. I mean, they didn't score. If they'd got anybody who could put the ball in the back of the net, they could have got a result against us. But at our place, one of the things that we tend to have, we have a guy called Hassan Kamara plays at left back, and he's also a kind of a natural wing back, so he's almost tends to push on and push forward. And in the last couple of minutes against you guys, he pushed on forward and inside. The ball, I think it broke to Grimes, because the moment they did that, your guys spun into the channel that he'd left vacant, and the ball was splayed out there, and you just opened us up. So it'll be interesting to see now playing at home whether you know, Russell Martin will go, well, let's sit a bit deeper and do what we did previously, because it paid dividends. You sucked us on. He's not the most disciplined of left backs in terms of the position. I was going absolutely apeshit at him at the time, and then the goal goes in and I'm stomping away like an idiot. But it was you could see it, and it was a game plan that was worked, and you stuck to that game plan, and the dividends came. So
yeah. I think he's intelligent in midfield to spot that sort of thing as well. And I think that's one of the qualities that he does have. Seeing what's ahead of him, noticing that gap now has appeared and getting the ball there. So that's definitely what Grimes can do from the centre. Joe Allen also might start. Maybe he's back from fitness. Obviously, he did feature at the World Cup for Wales. He's someone else that maybe can do those things. A bit different to Grimes. I'm not sure whether they start together or Alan will come on later, but again, he's somebody that can use the experience and the technical ability he's got, can notice those things, perhaps to punish any wandering people, I guess, who may be vacating their normal position. I wanted to ask you about a couple of your players, though. So we mentioned Joel Perreault in your podcast about his season. I was talking about perhaps he's been a bit disappointing. I'm wondering, is that quite similar for Sarr this season for you guys? Because I feel like going into the season, he was the one to watch a little bit, but maybe he hasn't hit the heights expected.
No, I think at the beginning of the season, I think we were more locked into the situation that Sarr wasn't going to be a Watford player. I think everyone at the club, probably including Sarr himself, was he wasn't going to be part of it. To keep hold of him is brilliant. To keep hold of João Pedro, especially with his links with Newcastle, it has been brilliant as well. But Sarr's not really kicked on this season. He's Peter's got a great way of explaining it, and I'll let him do that in a second. But he doesn't turn up week in and week out. You know, you get these very small glimpses of a fantastic player, but it's not consistent enough for me. You know, put him in a Senegal shirt, my God, rip up trees for you. But for whatever reason, put him in a Watford shirt, and it's just little bits. It's the same against Huddersfield recently. Just 3 or 4 moments where you thought brilliant, but apart from that, can go missing for me.
Yeah,
Peter.
Well, the term we use is he's a player of moments. I think it was Ruud Gullit described football as 90 minutes determined by 2 or 3 moments. So he's on the park, and he's got the quality and the ability to be that moment to unlock a door, or kind of create a chance, or create a goal, or have a worldie of on occasions. But he does absolutely bugger else for you bugger all else for you in the 85 minutes. He'll do some work that's unseen, etc. But he's one of these people who is afflicted by negative body language, if you know what I mean. He looks like a 23-year-old toddler sometimes.
Kind of just stropping around, isn't he? Yeah.
He's as fast as anything, but he won't push the ball past the left back and go, which is the most obvious way to go and stretch a defence. So often we end up playing into these tight areas a little bit too much, whereas actually just stick the ball in behind him and run him and watch the opposition defence drop off 10 yards. Then he's got the space to play, but he doesn't do it. So that's the frustration. You know what it's like. You have a player, and when you bring them into the team, first of all, you see what they do as a positive, but then over several weeks and several months, and in Sarr's case, it's been several years, you see an awful lot of games where it's not the match of the day moments. It's all of the other games where you're turning up at 3 o'clock and he's seemingly, not really fancying it. So whereas João Pedro is the full ticket. That's why we think this kid can go all the way, because he's filled out. He is having the season, I think, that's just really kind of starting to define him. We will be seriously lucky if we can keep him for next season. We have to go up in order to keep him. Otherwise, he will move. He is the real deal.
Yeah, so he's definitely the one to watch. I think we clarified that earlier. So hopefully Grimes can do a good job on him and keeping him quiet. Another one I wanted to ask about, though, just because of the name, I think, more than anything, Mario Gaspar. So you signed him in the summer.
Mario Gaspar, yeah.
Now, I'm not sure how much of a key player he is for you, or maybe expected to be, but he's got Spanish international caps, and it's a big name for the championship. So has he been a bit disappointing?
If you put Peter, who is, of an age and fit as a fiddle, of course, but if you put Peter in a race against Mario Gaspar, I would have my money on Peter. He is as slow as.
Is he going to start?
I would say not. I would say Ngakia, who's a young lad who we got from West Ham a few years ago, who's just starting to show signs of a proper player in there now. I think he'll get ahead of Gaspar. The idea of Gaspar was to come in and, in my opinion, because of the way we play, was to be a right-sided centre back rather than a right back, because he was coming to the sort. I mean, he's 31. I'm doing him like he's 37, but he's 31. But he lacks pace, and the idea that we saw was that he would come in and sort of fill that gap.
Yeah.
But he's played everywhere but that
It's
position.
kind of what Kyle Norton's done for us as he's got
Yeah, he
older
played
now.
centre back against us, didn't he, Kyle Norton?
Yeah, he's transitioned
I thought he had a
into
good
more
game.
of a
Yeah,
centre back now.
yeah,
The
yeah.
experienced one of the back, and they're about the same age, I think, actually. So I think Norton's a little bit older.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's what he's done.
He's not been a player that I will be going out and buying a shirt and getting his name on the back of it.
In fairness, the main reason I would beat Mario Gaspar in a race is because I would be in a car. But other than that, no, yeah, we signed him as a make weight in a deal for Kiko Femenia, who we previously had. Both are 31-year-old right backs, and we traded down. We went from one who'd got a bit of pace going forward to one who has no pace going forward or going back, and he doesn't really have an interest in getting into the opposition half, other than the fact that when he did play for Spain, he scored 2 goals, and one was a complete worldie. So the moment you kind of Google him or you go to YouTube, you see him scoring this kind of over the shoulder kind of hit volley into, and you go, oh my God, what have we got here? And then you realise that was the exception that proved the rule. So
he got more caps than Michu. That's an interesting stat for you. He's our one of our prized possessions there, Michu, and he got more caps than Mario Gaspar. So
he was a great player. How many Spanish caps did he get?
He only had one in the end. I think he only broke into the Spanish team like at the end of the season, the one everyone remembers him for. And then he only really did another half a season with us before he had his injuries that ended up ending his career. So,
in fairness, I imagine that Spain was probably going through the right back pandemic like Watford have been doing this season. So, kind of every single one had been nobbled, and good old Mario got a run. He's played a couple of games where he's been kind of defensively stalwartish, but there's nothing to write home about, to be quite frank. And we would much rather see Jeremy Ngakia, who's a young lad. He's probably 21, 22 now, probably. Who's kind of dogged and has had injury problems, and he will be. He's an orthodox right back, and we're now playing a 4-2-3-1. So the need, as we previously had for right wing backs, is no longer there. So no, I think we'll go with Ngakia and be happy with that.
Fair enough. I think it's just an example of sometimes when fans see the list of the free transfers at the end of the season, and not the big name players we're getting on a bit are not always the ones that you want to get hold of. It's just it's probably quite a few examples of them.
31, 32 is a hard time to move from La Liga, where you don't have to go across the halfway line, to suddenly play, kind of 46 games in the Championship in cold Watford. I think there's an awful lot that's, he may end up in the second part of his contract, or the second year of his contract, end up doing something, well in the Premiership, as it, if we manage to get there. If not, I feel for the guy. The other player that I think you probably need to take note of is Keenan Davis, who's the Aston Villa loanee, was formerly at Forest last season.
Who you said João Pedro, but who else should we be aware of if we're going to predictions? 1 or 2 players perhaps that we should look out for.
Well, Keenan's got, I think he's got 4 goals so far. He scored after the first 2 minutes and 15 seconds in our derby against Luton, which we won 4-0. That's right, 4-0. So, which basically makes him, legend as far as we're concerned.
He'll get a statue.
He's been kind of coming up to fitness levels, but then we've had the break, and he kind of seemed to he's lost it a little bit. He looks one of these people who's got to be kind of match fit and getting lots of games in order to get both match fit but also match sharp, so to speak. So I think with a few games back in, obviously we'll have played Millwall by then, so it should be his 4th game back. I would hope he would be doing well. He's that big unit that we play very centrally, because he can play wide as well. We play him very centrally, and he gets the ball to stick. He's very one-footed. He's very left-footed. But when he starts to hold the ball and bring others in, you've really potentially got something. And if you get one of those moments from Sarr as well, brilliant. Sorry, Carl.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, he's got for a big guy, he's a big turn of pace as well. Can spin on the ball very quickly and have a run with it as well. So he's probably, I guess he's a bit like Marmite for Watford fans at the moment. Nobody's quite sure if they like him or not. I personally, from what I've seen of him, think he's brilliant. He gives us something completely different, and he'll take 2 or 3 players out by just holding the ball up and being effective like that, where I think a lot of Watford fans at the start when he came in were looking for him for goals. But it's what he brings. He brings other players in, like
probably allows João Pedro to flourish. Perhaps.
Exactly, yeah. So it's probably some of the work that he does that goes unnoticed a little bit for me.
So he's likely to start up top, is it, with Pedro behind?
Yeah. He'll definitely do that, and he does. You're absolutely right. He stops opposition defenses pushing on up because they're so worried about occupying him.
Worried about him.
That could be key against us who likes to keep the ball pass on the back. Then if he can get in the way of that sort of stuff, get in the way of our rhythm.
Yeah, that's it. That's what he's there to do. He's a menace more than anything. He's never going to get you 25, 30 goals a season, but he might create you, half of that.
Yeah. Any other key names then, just before we move on to predictions?
I mean, we can't say João Pedro anymore because we've done that. But I don't know. I think at the moment we're really light on numbers in terms of what we have in that midfield, and we are going to be missing a few. I really liked Deli. I'm going to say his name wrong, Peter. They're going to kill me. Deli Bashir.
That's it. Tom Deli Bashir.
Yeah, Tom Deli Bashir, who's a Man City project. He came through their sort of youth academy and has really struggled with injuries. Been on loan at Reading, done quite well, got injured again, been out for a really long time. But he's a real big prospect for Watford. But chances are, depending on what happens, he could be in the middle. And he had a really good game against Huddersfield, probably the best I've seen him. So hopefully we can get him on a good run of form, get him a few games under his belt as well because he needs them.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on him.
Yeah, the only other one, not the only other one. There's lots. I mean, we do have a lot of decent players. We can't, but it's now that they're kind of got this kind of grit and determination that you want them then to, which they didn't do against Hull, but they did against Huddersfield, to make the difference at the other end. I think a player who warrants saying something about is one of those players who falls into the not good enough for the Premiership, too good for the Championship kind of mould, is Ken Sema, who's he's a left-sided player. Sometimes at the moment we're playing like inverted wingers in a 4-2-3-1, so they're kind of attacking midfield rather than wingers, and he might play him on the right, he might play him on the left. He's a very left-sided player, but he's also putting in some decent corners and set pieces, which is something we've taken ages to have. And he's quite combative. He's just very, very physically strong. He's built a little bit like Emil Heskey, if you remember, maybe a little shorter, but he's got that kind of prize fighter kind of, he's not going to beat anybody with skill, but he's going to absolutely run them ragged.
I call him the fridge.
Yeah.
Kenneth the fridge.
There you go.
Well, there's some good names for Swans fans to keep an eye on then when you do come down. So I think a couple of them might have featured last time, a few maybe not, but be interesting. Hopefully we can get back-to-back wins against you. I'm not so confident, but how are you two feeling going in to the match? What are your predictions?
Shall I go first? I'll go first.
You go first. I've got to think of one.
Go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not used to that, are you? I think it will be a tight game. Swansea's always been a tough place to go to, when the home fans get behind them. But I've just looking at your last 5 games, depending on what happens, the draws and a loss, I think.
Yeah, it's not great.
I just think we're hopefully, if I'm hoping we're right, I think we're just starting to kick into something. So I'm going to go. It'll still be a tight game, but I'm going to go Swansea 0, Watford 1. Okay.
Pete, have you got anything to expand on that?
I think I'm a bit more kind of, we've kept 4 straight clean sheets, which is great, but you can't always rely on that, and somebody will unpick you eventually. I'll go with a Swansea 1, Watford 2. I'm going for a game. I remember the game when we came down, we beat you 2-1 with almost like the last kick of the game from Richarlison.
I was there, yeah.
And that's the kind of, when I said earlier on, we've got an embarrassment sometimes of really good players. We sometimes forget that, we've got the next generation. This is why we get incredibly enthused about João Pedro, because I think he knocks spots off of Richarlison personally.
And he had a good World Cup as well for Brazil, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that spinning goal was fantastic.
2 of his goals were 2 of the best.
Yeah, and
team goal. And
what Peter just said there, João Pedro is twice the player Richarlison is, in my opinion. So he's got a big future.
That's for the attitude, though.
Yeah, he's not. He's quite a humble lad. I don't think he's.
Hasn't got a tattoo of Neymar on his back then.
No. He's not Neymar's best friend. No.
No, he's one of these kids. He's just a very, very nice guy. He's very humble. When he moved over with his family. Last season, his stepdad, who'd been very important to him, passed away. And about 2 weeks later, he insisted on playing, and he played against Man U and scored a goal. We beat him 4-1. Probably the only highlight of the season, to be honest with you, or Everton away as well. But no, his feet are solidly on the ground. He signed a longer term contract, but that normally means that Watford will get a better deal for him when he does go. Fair play to that. There's no trouble with that. But you can see with this guy, he's got a better maturity. He's got a better team balance, and he's probably a little bit more humble, which isn't necessarily a good quality in footballers, than Richarlison. Richarlison was one of those people who just basically looked like he'd lost a pound and found 5p. That was constantly. So what can you do?
Yeah. Okay, well, my prediction, I'll keep it consistent with what I said on your podcast. I said you guys to win 2-0. I wasn't so confident. I think Bilic is getting into some sort of form now. When we played you last time, he was right at the start, wasn't it? So we managed to do a job, and it's tricky sometimes when a new manager comes in, but he's a good manager, and I think he's got you going somewhere. You're going to have a good chance for the rest of the season. So we haven't hit the ground.
I hope you're right.
Yeah, we haven't hit the ground running since the World Cup break finished, and we didn't go into the break in the best of form. So we're searching for wins at the moment. We can't seem to get over the line. We are getting a lot of draws, so maybe we can get a draw. But I'm going to say you guys to win 2-0, which I hope I'm wrong. I'm sure everyone will be coming at me in the comments now. But
we're getting it now.
That's it. We'll have to wait and see when we see who's right.
Come and tell you what the score is in the comments. That'll be good.
Exactly. Yeah, come and tell me. But yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. I know it went a bit longer than expected, but a good chat, some good information about where Watford are at the moment, and good luck for the rest of the season after the 30th. As you said earlier yourselves, straight back at you, and you never know. Maybe we'll meet in the playoffs or something if all goes to plan. That'll be juicy. I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself here. We dropped out a little bit at the moment, but if we can get back,
that championship it's a crazy league. You never say never in the championship.
Only takes
exactly
a couple of wins and then you're back right there. But yeah, thanks guys. Just a reminder then, your podcast is called Do Not Scratch Your Eyes Watford FC Podcast. I did jump on podcast with Carl, Pete, and I forget the other name. Sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, we don't blame you.
Yeah. We don't talk about him. He's
it's just he's not on the screen.
He's just kept that there.
Apologies.
Yeah, Justin was very grumpy because he'd just been having trouble with Twitter, like Elon Musk on a bad day. It's great.
Yeah.
It was a good chat, anyways. If anyone wants to head over there, I will put the links in the video below to the channel. Is it YouTube or are you just on Spotify?
No, we've got YouTube as well. Yeah, which is match day vlogs, basically with me getting drunk. So yeah,
I'll put all the links on the Twitter anyway below. So go check out those guys. And thanks for coming again. And we shall see you next time. Good luck.
Cheers, Luke. Thank you, sir.
No worries.
Cheers, mate.